Hey guys, I am finishing up school for the year and I'm getting ready to just kind of close everything up and do things differently for the summer. But I realized that when I do this, I kind of have a process that I always follow that wraps everything up and gets it all done, so I feel like that's complete and we're ready to just put it away and be at peace in my mind before we move on to the next stuff, either in summer or for the next fall. So the first thing that I do has to do with my high schooler, and I've had 3 kids now who have fallen into this category when they are in not necessarily the grades of high school, but when they are doing high school level work, then every single year I have to record what they've done on their transcript. And do not be afraid. This is way easier than I thought it was, much easier than a lot of people make it sound. This is all it is. All you have to do is look at what they've done and categorize it into classes. Now, a lot of the things that they have done are automatically in classes. Like maybe they've taken a science class that has a textbook and you know that that is a science class. All you do is you open up that science book and in there it has kind of a description of what this science book covers. Copy that and stick it in your course description. That is your course description because that's what it is. The book tells you. Then you know that that's a 1 credit or maybe it's a half a credit if it was only a semester. That's how much it is, and then you give them a grade based on what they've done. That's all you do. When you've got a textbook, that's all you do. Now I have several things that my kids do that aren't textbooks that maybe you do. Maybe you have them in plays, or maybe they are taking orchestra, or maybe they're just reading a lot of books and that doesn't necessarily fall into a category. When that's the case, it's a little harder, but it's still pretty super simple. You look at it and you say, well, what category? If this was a public school class, what would they call this? And a good example of this is leadership. A lot of homeschool kids will take leadership classes and not really know exactly where that lands. Just look at what you did. It was either literature or it was possibly humanities, history stuff. So you're either going to put it on as an English credit or as a humanities credit. And for me, I just look at it and say, well, it would count for either of those. So which one does my kid need? And you can see what your kid needs. Just look up and say, what are the high school credits that are required to graduate from high school? And they'll tell you they need this many history credits, they need this many math credits, they need this many English credits, and you'll know what you're aiming for as you go along. But I don't let that really bother me too much because just the natural learning, you're going to get all of those things covered. So if your child is, say, playing the piano all the time, then you'd say, well, that is a music credit and that falls under fine arts. And then you just write a 250-word description of what it is that they're doing. They're going to cover this book to this book, or they're going to cover this concept to this concept. And then you say the tools that you're using. They will be using this online class, or they will be using these particular books, or they will be using this many hours of practice, or they will be using these many performances. So whatever tools went into accomplishing this learning, you just put that in the 250 words. You just describe what did we get done and what tools did we use to accomplish it. That's your little essay. That is your course description. I try to take care of it every semester, but if I don't, then I got to make sure that I get it done in April or May, and then it's done and I don't even have to think about it anymore. It is just all recorded, and when it comes time to apply to college, that is done, and it's not this huge, scary thing to try to create it all at once. You just kind of do it as you go along. Just write those course descriptions at the end of every year. You're only doing maybe 8. They're not that hard. We can totally do this. I can totally do this. You can totally do this. And the second thing that I do to get ready for the summer is I get rid of all of the school stuff that I'm done with. And so that's obviously the stuff that you wrote in or your kids wrote in and it's filled up and it's done. Get rid of that. It's done. I don't know. If you feel like really emotionally attached to it, then stick it in a container and hold on to that. But I just want it out of my house. I want it cleaned up. I do lean toward minimalism. And so if it's done, we're done. We're getting rid of it. If it is some sort of a textbook, I almost get rid of all of those because the likelihood of me ever using that again with another kid is really, really low. I get rid of them. I can't think of a time that I've had to re-buy the same textbook. It doesn't happen. Every kid is so different that I'm constantly looking for the thing that's going to fit them. And so I just get rid of the textbooks. I very, very seldom will hold on to those. When it comes to books, I'm much more likely to hold on to those, novels or classic books, literature, stuff like that. I'll hold on to those. Those are useful. They're going to be used way after school is over. It applies to all of my kids. So I will keep those. But when it comes to just textbooks, it's gone. I get rid of that. And the last thing I do to finish up school, and this really isn't anything to do with school, except it just clears up my mental clutter, and that is that I get rid of everything non-school. We just kind of go through and do a purge, and we make sure that we're not holding on to anything that doesn't need to be here. And I just look at it and I say, have I used this within the last year? No, get rid of it. And having a very clean house really opens up everything so that we can have great adventures all throughout the summer and a clean space where I can get ready to go on next year. No matter how hard I try, stuff comes into my home. And so I really have to take time and say, at this time when we're just closing everything up and I'm feeling fresh and new and excited about starting something new, that's a great time to purge everything. So that is what I do at the end of every school year before I can honestly say, we're done. I'm not going to think about those classes anymore because I've already written up the coursework. I'm not going to think about the house anymore because it's already clean. I'm not going to think about any of the school stuff that I used before because it's done and I've donated it and it will bless somebody else's life. Awesome, it's done. I don't have to deal with it anymore. All of that closing things up really creates a space where I can be really happy moving forward. And that's how I finish my year out. So I hope that helps. If you are new to this or maybe you've been doing it for a long time, this I find is really helpful way to end the school year so that I can just feel done in all the ways that I can feel done and feel really accomplished at the same time. I hope that helps. You are doing really important things. Being a mom, being a dad really matters, and you're doing a much better job than you think you are. Keep it up, and I will see you on the next one.